If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus.
Angela Merkel took Germany's corona response next level.
A roller coaster ride for the U.S. economy as it weathers the storm of the virus surge.
Sounding the alarm about the growing number of COVID-19 cases.
The COVID crisis has impacted so many industries this year.
The COVID contraction for the German economy down about 5% for the full year.
EU leaders have agreed to develop a COVID-19 vaccine passport.
A total of $2,000 cash relief to people who need it the most.
The United States national debt has been increasing steadily, and in 2019, national debt amounted to 106% of its GDP. Due to COVID-19, the economy contracted by 3.5% in the first quarter of 2020.
The US government adopted a fiscal response to stimulate economic growth during the pandemic, known as the American Rescue Plan, which costs approximately 8.8% of its GDP. The key measures comprised stimulus payments to households and additional unemployment benefits.
With an increase in autonomous consumption expenditure, aggregate demand is increased, and via the Keynesian multiplier effect, there will be multiple rounds of income-induced consumption. Given the US's large fiscal multiplier size of 3, due to its high marginal propensity to consume, there will be a large increase in real GDP, as shown in the movement from Y0 to YE in the figure. However, as a result of the fiscal response, US debt is projected to increase to 104% of GDP by the end of 2021. This presents a threat to fiscal sustainability in the US. Nonetheless, given its large multiplier size, expansionary fiscal policy is effective in helping the country boost its economy during the pandemic. Germany's policy highlights its effectiveness in awareness of the situation, especially in areas dealing with social risk, which is also one of the Singapore government's key considerations. Germany, which already had relatively generous unemployment benefits, has not significantly increased the amount of out-of-work benefits during the crisis, but has extended the period for the unemployed to claim their benefits. If workers are retrenched, insurance companies instead of taxpayers foot the bill.
While unemployment benefits provide additional support and time for workers during recessions without large negative side effects, its reactive nature seems to be unable to keep up with the dynamic pandemic situation. One of the weaknesses that the COVID-19 crisis has highlighted is that we probably need to pay more attention to risk sharing throughout the economy. On this note, Germany rolled out a complementary scheme, Kurzarbeit. This serves as an automatic risk sharing to prevent severe unemployment.
In Germany, the government pays companies to keep workers on their payrolls. During the pandemic, the German government allowed for these benefits to rise to as much as 80% of workers' wages.
This variation in benefits level and maximum duration of benefits really set Germany aside from other countries who implement the same policy. Together, it has successfully saved the workforce from unemployment while spending less per person than US.
Germany has also implemented another economic policy in light of COVID-19, which takes advantage of its position in the European Union. This is the COVID-19 vaccine passport, exclusive to nations within the EU. An official vaccination passport will be issued only to those who have been vaccinated and allows for safer international travel. This is done in a bid to restore freedom of travel, which has been halted due to the pandemic. Through this passport, travel restrictions such as entry bans, quarantine obligations, and testing are removed, increasing productivity and efficiency.
With greater ease of travel and hence flow of skilled labor among the EU, there is greater overall productivity within the German economy, allowing for potential economic growth. Firms and investors can begin to regain confidence about higher profit margins, as they will be able to employ more skilled workers from the different countries, hence allowing for actual economic growth. The inflow of foreign direct investments can also improve Germany's capital and financial account in the form of long-term capital, and hence improve its balance of payments.
Given Singapore's mandatory CPF contribution for citizens and its large external sector, Singapore has a high marginal propensity to withdraw. Thus, Singapore's small Keynesian multiplier of 1.60 renders fiscal policy less effective than in the US. For Singapore's economic growth and sustainability, it is more critical to focus on supply-side policies than on demand-side policies, though the latter is also important during COVID-19. Although Singapore has the short-run capability to draw on past reserves to enact fiscal stimulus, this source may dry up in the long run. Outside of critical emergencies, the government should not continue with such generous stimuli in the post-COVID world. In doing so, they incur the opportunity cost of future generations' well-being and of upgrading healthcare infrastructure, which will take center stage as Singapore's population ages. In pre-COVID times, Singapore didn't provide any benefits to the unemployed, choosing instead to focus on reskilling and re-employment. Though Singapore implemented the COVID-19 recovery grant to cover workers' lost income, in the post-COVID world, we should do away with these generous policies and stop relying on using reserves to prop up demand. Not only do they imply a strain on Singapore's budget, they create significant inefficiencies if benefits incentivize some workers to remain unemployed. Given its adverse effects, this isn't the appropriate policy choice moving forward. Rather, as we look towards new growth sectors post-COVID such as digital and green technologies, we could focus more on reskilling to ensure all workers can pursue relevant careers while making sure people aren't dependent on the state. Singapore relies heavily on the external sector to grow its economy, with a trade to GDP ratio of 322% in 2017. Foreign labour forms an integral part of Singapore's workforce at all skill levels, with skilled foreign workers making up a large fraction of PMETs in the financial services industry, and a construction sector highly dependent on foreign labour. The digital COVID-19 passport is a viable and cost-effective policy that Singapore can adopt to rejuvenate its economy. It can make use of its strategic relations with our ASEAN neighbours and RCEP partners to promote this multilateral agreement. This complements Singapore's push towards a smart nation, with significant benefits to a small and open economy such as ours.